Hi, I'm Sonic Sons.
And I'm Sith King Zero, and we're the Random
Reviewer. Rambling.
Damn it!
Alright, just keep going.
Rambling Reviewers, let's play! Fail.
Alright, so, randomly, and rambly, is there an adjective for rambly?
Ramblingly.
Ramblingly, alright, we are also the grammar reviewers.
I'm a
We're
grammar
excited to
Nazi.
talk about Starfox, the video game series.
Yes.
As opposed to some fox, which is out in space for no reason.
Or...
This fox is in space for a very good reason.
yeah. Now, the Starfox series, as with all our reviews, there will be spoilers.
Yeah.
You don't want spoilers? Don't watch.
Yeah. Or
If you do want spoilers, please note that there will be swearing.
If you don't want swearing, don't watch. If you do want swearing, please note there will be spoilers. Okay.
It's a vicious cycle. Okay. The Starfox series of games started approximately, let's say 12 minutes ago.
20 years ago, something like that. Whatever, it started on the NES. I never played
or
that
the Super
one.
NES.
I think it was SNES, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they had 3D graphics. I remember someone telling me about that 10 years after it was released.
It was starring a group of animals who had...
Anthropomorphic animals.
Who had spaceships. And
Yep.
they would fly around in space.
Yep.
And they were fighting Andross.
I believe this illustrates the rule of premise quite well. You know, like they have the rule of cool, the rule of funny. Rule of premise. Okay, we're introduced to animals flying spaceships in the first minute, it's okay. If it happened halfway through the story, what the frick? Right? Like
Schlock Mercenary actually didn't do too bad a job with that. Because they established that years ago, like there was like an uplift. There was a group that uplifted various animals from Earth and made them sapient. Like in modern Schlock, there's a... Well, not modern schlock, as opposed to like ancient schlock. In recent years, there's been intelligent gorillas and elephants as part of the Take on Stuffs group.
That's true.
But this is not the Schlock Mercenary universe.
It's not, but go watch that show or read that thing sometime.
Read the comic, jeez.
Whatever, we'll make a show and then you can watch it. But so we have animals in space flying around, it was awesome.
However, there's one small problem with our review at this point. Neither of us has played the SNES version.
Which is why we're skipping over to Nintendo 64. Wow, I tried to say SNES64.
Which is why, well, okay, that's not why, but in 1995 or 1997, sorry, because that's always at the end. 1997, Nintendo decided to reboot the franchise with a Nintendo 64 launch.
Starfox 64.
Widely regarded as one of the best games of the entire series.
Yeah,
that's right, folks. It's all downhill from here.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about our plans for the future later, because we can go about that for a while.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Starfox 64 basically revealed more of the plot. The Starfox team, Fox McCloud, Falco Lombardi, Peppy Hare, and Slippy Toad.
The annoying one.
Yeah, Slippy
Actually, I was okay with him, but
yeah, it was... Well, yeah.
He told me how much shields the guy had.
That was the only redeeming feature. I think they only added that so that we wouldn't shoot him down every mission. But you can probably guess what species they are.
Yeah.
You would be wrong, though, actually. I think I heard Falco from Word of God is a partridge.
Huh.
Or it's like a pheasant. No, pheasant. He's a pheasant, actually.
Well, there you go.
But yeah.
So yeah, the thing there was on-rail shooter. It was brand new.
It was part of.
It was. I mean, to my think, it was the first time I played that genre at all, and practically the only time. How many on-rail shooters do we play, honestly?
Not many. The genre's kind of been phased out.
It's only Starfox. It's like their own mini genre at this point. For
Oh no, it was more common back in the SNES, NES, Atari.
But around the time, say, Assault came out, how many other?
Yeah, good
things?
point.
It's the
but
granddaddy.
In 64, 64 was also a landmark game because it was the first cartridge-based game to incorporate actual voices.
Yeah, and the characters had personality that way. And I remember when I played it, I was like 10 or something, and like when you go into, where's the one where Bill shows up?
Katina,
yeah. Katana that's shaped like a giant sword.
Yeah.
Katina is battling the enemy. Will you help him out? Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, Bill, is that you? I can't believe it!" Yeah. And then we can catch up later, Fox. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, they have an existence outside the game."
Oh, and
like just the fact that the writers had thought that far was like new.
The story begins basically by saying that Corneria was one of the planets in the Lilat system, which I really don't know how the Lilat system works. We'll see if we can edit in a map of the Lilat system later.
Everything is really close to everything else.
It has like about 40 planets or so, and
there's only like 12 in the game.
I'm exaggerating for effect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but there's like other planets that they mention in like other tie-in comics and stuff. A lot of them are habitable to a greater or lesser degree.
Yeah, well, one theory was that the star you see in the center of the Starfox 64 map is actually a secondary star to the main one, which is off screen, which would make more sense considering everything. A little bit more sense.
Okay, so now that you've already digested anthropomorphic animals in spaceships and a freaking bizarre solar system, things were peaceful up until the evil scientist Andros decided to, be a giant douche canoe.
Yeah.
So the Cornerian army kicked his ass and exiled him to the distant planet of Venom.
I'm not sure how it stays distant when all the planets move in circles and why possibly could, they get close to each other.
Okay, yeah, but we could say it's like geostationary or something.
Something like that. There'd be another word for it, but whatever.
Station keeping, like so they're always on opposite sides of the sun, maybe.
That would require them to have the same distance from the sun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but they are kind of at opposite ends of the system.
Right, but they just
Like I said, the system is weird. But eventually, Andros took over the planet Venom because maybe you should have.
Maybe he should have just put him in a jail cell. Yeah.
So, they sent the Cornerian army, because they didn't want to get their own dudes killed, sent the mercenary team Starfox, consistent of James McLeod, Peppy Hare, and Pigma Dengar. Pigma decided to be a massive...
Pigma betrayed the team, to be precise.
What a surprise. The pig was the bad guy.
I never thought of that connection before.
Yeah. Well, Pigma betrayed the team to Andros, and he got promotion and money.
Yeah.
James died horribly, probably, screaming.
So goes the theory.
And Peppy limped home to tell Fox, James's son, hey, remember how your dad had that really good friend Pigma and he trusted him with his life? Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
The story goes that Andros has finally said, well, guess it's time to attack everywhere at once.
Yeah, he's good at that.
Yeah.
Sort of a blitzkrieg on the solar system.
Yeah, you kind of have to wonder how no one noticed the massive buildup of military forces. I mean, seriously, we can tell when Dictator von Small Penis or whatever is building up forces in Who Caresistan. and then, like, Who Caresistan is, like, theoretically 3 square miles. How can we not tell that, like, there are huge battleships building and carriers being built on a planet?
Well, I'm just thinking of the initial investigation. They noticed strange activity coming from Venom, and they sent them to investigate. But when they built an entire fleet, that's not strange.
Yeah. By the way, I apologize for any comments made that may offend any of you, especially if you live in the wonderful and strong nation of Who Caresistan with its national bird, the Frisbee.
Man, we have to found that nation now.
Yep. But
anyway, okay, I think we got more than we needed on the plot, because the plot is, get in your spaceship and go kill Andros and his goons.
Yeah.
And as far as we need to, we can just recap that as we go. What was cool about it, though, the innovations.
You could take multiple paths throughout the solar system.
Throughout the solar system and through individual levels, which also would lead you to the solar system. That was amazing the first time we came up with that,
Yeah.
Go under the arches and then the freaking waterfall.
You save Falco and then you fly under the arches. Yeah. And then, wait, you have to fly. I've spotted the enemy boss. He's through this waterfall.
Yeah. And found the target. Try to keep up. Yeah. And so, I remember the feeling of the characters having more depth. The feeling you can go full 3D, for the all range mode.
There's like 2 different modes. There's rail mode where you're on pretty much a rail where you go pretty much where the camera wants you to go, but you can move around on the screen.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Otherwise, it's like, wow, great game, guys.
You can pick up power-ups that increase your life bar, or they can give you double lasers.
Yes.
Or hyper lasers once you already have the double upgrade.
Yes.
You could get damaged enough that you lose your wing and thus lose your laser upgrade. So suddenly you're really weak and your ship doesn't fly as well.
And Rob would send you supplies sometimes.
Rob was another character we failed to mention. He runs the ship. The Starfox. No, the Great Fox.
Great Fox, yeah.
His name is Rob64. He's named after, of course, the Nintendo's old Rob toys, which were plastic robots that they sold. It worked with some NES systems. NES games, not NES systems. And the typical title of naming anything that came out on Nintendo 64, blank 64.
Yeah, that worked out. At least it was consistent. We all call it Superman 64, even though it was just called Superman.
Yeah, everyone calls everything
Everything's super. Yeah, it's very simple that way. Anyway, so that was basically the highlight of
the entire
Starfox.
series.
So, well, then came Dinosaur Planet, which is originally it was called Dinosaur Planet, starring I guess, is she a Fox Crystal? What is she?
Starring Crystal, yeah.
Okay, starring Crystal, and it was completely not Star Fox. She was going to run around with the staff and do this action RPG thing. It was cool. And then they implanted Star Fox characters at the last moment.
Which kind of ticked a lot of people off.
Yeah, well...
It's kind of the black sheep of the franchise. Mind you, I loved the game.
It's like the Mario 2 of the franchise. Like, it's so weird, but it was actually a good game. It's just not like...
Actually, the Mario 2...
Mario 2 is Doki Doki Panic. Or Doki Doki Paniku, to be Japanese.
Gesundheit.
Yeah.
But, yeah. It was a good... Don't let anyone get you wrong. It was a good game.
Yeah, it wasn't excellent, but it was good. I liked it. I played it through.
It felt like a almost watered down version of Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It was a little like that. Yeah.
With a bunch of plot holes.
And well, I wasn't even paying attention to the plot so much as just.
Well, I mean, plot holes is just generally things that make no sense. Head scratchers, fridge logic.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe.
Like okay, the basic plot of Dinosaur Planet is that
it's actually called Star Fox Adventures now.
Yeah, Star Fox Adventures. There's this hot blue female anthropomorphic fox named Crystal,
who was previously the star of her own game, and now she just gets to be a sex object. Pretty much nothing else.
She gets better.
She gets better, but for most of the, like, come on, the jazz scene.
Yeah.
He sees her in the crystal, and it's like jazzy jazz. She's wearing.
Dude, I'm trying to convince this. Dude, I'm trying to convince the people that this game actually has merits.
Yeah, all right. Talk about that.
Okay. Crystal is trying to find out who destroyed her home planet of Cernia, and also she has psychic powers and can speak dinosaur, which is a different language than.
Any other language.
Well, Lyladian, I think.
Yeah.
But Dinosaur Planet is full of magic in a science fiction game.
Yep. You can
Oh, yes, this was put together so well.
You can tell they imported the characters at the last minute.
The Krazoa spirits and the spell stones that are keeping the planet from literally flying apart are missing, and Crystal has...
The plot coupons must be collected.
Yeah. She finds General Scales is doing this bad stuff to destabilize the planet because, evil.
Yep, for the evil.
Eventually, she gets kidnapped by what appears to be a spirit thingy.
Yep.
Enter Team Starfox, who have been commissioned by General... Crap, I can't remember his name.
Pepper.
General Pepper. Yeah.
Yeah.
General Pepper, who was your... He basically handed out missions in 64.
Yep.
And in the SNES game, but like we said, we didn't play that. We don't know it that well.
He was sort of the Zordon of Star Fox. He didn't give us our powers, but he told us where to go.
Actually, Zordon did give them the powers.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. So you're seeing how this is...
Yeah.
Anyways, and by this time, it's been 7 years since 64 in universe. The ship is falling apart. Falco's gone his own way. Everything is going to hell. They need this paycheck.
I'd like to know how that happened, but okay. You
You
saved the world. Maybe we should upkeep your ship for you.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But anyway, so General Pepper says, "Well, this planet's falling apart. It's Dinosaur Planet. Its inhabitants are dinosaurs.
Yep.
Go save the world."
Yeah, pretty much.
So you fly down your R-Wing and you go through obviously tacked on levels where you fly your R-Wing to collect rings to deactivate the planet's force shield.
I do believe the most tackiest of the levels came at the very end. Remember that?
Yeah, we'll
the final boss fight.
We'll get to that eventually. So you land and you find Crystal's staff, and immediately
Peppy and General Pepper start chiming in saying, nope, you can't use all your high-tech sci-fi weapons that would make this job infinitely simpler, but you can have this stick. Because fuck you.
Yeah.
You don't want to startle the locals. Dude, you can literally set off bombs next to the locals.
Yeah.
And they will not react to anything.
Yeah.
And most of the locals you'll be using your weapons on, they deserved it. Seriously, I would have loved to have a blaster and just going around blowing up aliens. But basically, so you go around finding magic powers for your staff, which is something that I found a bit of a plot hole.
What's wrong with magic powers?
Okay, why is so much of the architecture and magic stuff of Dinosaur Planet designed to fit into with the Cernian staff and not with the local inhabitants?
Oh. Yeah.
And why are there things to upgrade a Cernian power staff?
Well, that's ye old video game craziness. Yep.
And furthermore, the Warp Stone, which I'm so not even kidding, one of the characters is the Warp Stone. Imagine if Buddha was cut in half, so he has no legs, was magic and could teleport things, and was Scottish. I am so not even kidding right now. Go ahead, look it up. We'll wait.
Okay.
Okay, screw it. He says he can't teleport dinosaurs on a planet whose inhabitants are all
I
dinosaurs.
get the feeling they've changed this game before release.
Dude, even if it was just Crystal who could use it, and why could dinosaurs not use this? The only purpose he is there is as a warp stone. He can send you to various places. So why can 99.99999% of the inhabitants of this planet not use this thing?
He's on the wrong planet, clearly.
My best opinion is that this was once a Cernian colony. And then they just suffered from Superman, Man of Steel, colony collapse syndrome.
Yep, there you go.
Where they die out for no goddamn reason.
Yep.
But you go through the game, going through various levels. Eventually, you start recovering the plot coupons. The Krazoa spirits and the Spellstones. Spellstones you have to take back to the Force Point temples, which are where the nexi of magical energy that are spewing out from the planet are being kept in check. And the Krazoa spirits who will literally piece the planet back together because parts of it are flying off into space.
So it's a slightly more serious version of Kirby's Epic Yarn. The whole world was in pieces. You had to put it back together.
Okay, didn't play the game, but... Anyways, eventually you get to the final Krazoa Spirit Temple, where you have to complete another few mini-games, and then you'll have the spirit. Suddenly, the main bad guy, the guy who's been hyped of this whole game, shows up. General Scales. Now imagine a Velociraptor. No. Deinonychus. That's what the things in Jurassic Park actually were. Velociraptors are like the size of a chicken.
Alright.
Those were actually Deinonychus. Imagine a Deinonychus, make him as smart as a human, crossbreed him with a T-Rex, and make him 8 feet tall.
Yep.
That is General Scales. Genuine badass. You could see this guy like totally killing a shitload of dinosaurs and murdering his way through 1 billion different star systems.
Right.
This guy is classic evil. Suddenly someone starts speaking to him and saying, "No, give him the Krazoa spirit." And Scales is like, "No, but I don't want to." "No, do what I have commanded you." And he gives it the Krazoa spirit and dies instantly.
What?
So you return the last Krazoa spirit to its true and proper resting place, and thus free your love interest, Crystal, where she yells at you, smacks you, and takes back her staff.
Alright.
At which point Andros shows up again.
There we go. I was wondering.
Yeah, at which point, remember all the upgrades and all the high-tech stuff that you got in order to get to this point? Yeah, all goes out the window right now. You're back in the ship and you're shooting at Andros.
Yep.
And then Falco shows up.
Yep.
For no reason.
Yep.
Then you kill Andros again, permanently it seems this time, as he hasn't shown up in
blew
any...
up his brain last time. That should have been permanent.
Yeah, but, you know, he's
He's
a major video game villain.
Yeah.
They don't die.
They don't die, yeah. It's sort of Bowser logic, though. You know, like
Yeah.
we just it's a feeling of we just don't care. He's back, okay?
Yeah.
Whatever.
But anyways, so then you party, you get paid, and everyone says, "Oh, I'm going to get more money from this. I'm going to fix the ship. I'm going to make sure we don't die because the life support system isn't melting."
Yeah.
And Crystal shows up, and blah, blah, blah. Funny things happen, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so anyway, that was Adventures.
Now, I'd like to emphasize, this is not a bad game. If you ignore the rest of the Starfox series, it is a
and everything he just complained about.
it is a good game. It's a fun adventure game. It's not too taxing. It's a good game to play in your downtime when you're not feeling...
Yeah.
When you're like, oh, I don't want to fight against like Call of Duty or Medal of Warfare or whatever.
Yeah. It's
Or-
more laid back, yeah.
It's laid back. It's fun. It's a little cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
It's just good
Kinda
gaming.
has to be, yeah.
And it was made by Rareware, the same guys who brought you Diddy Kong Racing. This
Yay.
thing rocks.
So after that strange but enjoyable thing, I was hoping for like standard, actually flying a ship the whole time, Starfox to come back.
Which is
So then they announced Starfox.
it got better,
Assault.
but
They announced Starfox Assault, and it sounded freaking awesome. It sounded like, okay, we're in the ship a whole lot. We're shooting all sorts of things, and then you can get out and run and shoot people, and you can get in tanks and shoot people. And there was a feature where you could be flying your ship, pop the hood on the cockpit, jump off and get onto the wing, and pick up whatever weapon you had, like a bazooka, and just shoot downwards at people.
okay, that wasn't okay. You could do that, but A, that was very dangerous. B, usually when they did that, someone else was flying the ship.
Right, so that they kind of nerfed the feature from what they announced. It was going to be like you could kind of do this whenever, at least in an atmosphere. Then it was in story mode. There was one time where like the AI flies the ship, and you're like, oh, because I love that risk
Twice.
of it. It was
twice.
Whatever. Man, you memorize everything.
Well, I played it a lot.
Oh, okay. But you know, it didn't click for me like Star Fox 64 did, and I don't think
It was a definite return back to the 64 patterns, or an attempt to.
it was an attempt to. But you know, like a lot of the stuff running around sucked. A lot, like you would have 20 weapons, and you had to cycle through them, just like click, 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 click.
And you only used like 3 or 4 of them, and
Right.
they were like at the opposite ends of the...
Right, you're like, I'm waiting, you know, and you didn't really feel like the hero while you're getting shot while waiting for the UI to click through to your weapon. You're like, God, frick it, you know. It was very easy. I beat the game in like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Um,
It took me years to beat Star Fox.
yeah.
But that's mostly because it was my first video game.
Yeah, we were younger. But even so, like, I still can't get medals everywhere.
Yeah.
You know? My friends could always do that. They'd unlock expert mode. And I was like, how do you do that? I'm trying.
Yeah. The storyline of it, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, do we need to recount the entire storyline every time? Because, like, it
Well,
takes a while.
This is the last time.
Wow. Okay. You never played Command, then, apparently.
I have not.
Okay.
Also, the storyline is so twisting and complicated there that it's basically...
Crazy. All right.
Also, they've said basic... I'll get to that when we get to Command.
All right.
The story is that Andrew Oikeny, a member of Starwolf, who we skipped over in our review
That's
at first, but he's Andros's nephew. How a giant floating head with 2 hands can have a nephew...
I'm going to go with cloning.
Yeah. But that also implies that he had like a brother or a sister, so...
Well, it could be more of a honorary uncle.
You know, I don't really care. Andrew's a weenie. So he's paid a whole bunch of mercenaries so he can try to take over the Lilat system, just like Uncle Andros.
Yeah.
And after listening to him for 30 seconds, you realize 2 things. 1, they changed his voice actor. And 2, he is an annoying little shithead.
Wait, this is the same... I didn't even connect that earlier. That whiny guy was the guy I was fighting in 64 on Venom?
Yeah.
That is not the same guy at all.
Yes, that is.
I'm just saying, they made portrayal is entirely different. That's silly.
Yeah. the Andrew you fought on Venom was sycophantic and annoying, but he was honestly deadly.
What were his phrases on Venom? I'm trying to remember, because there was annoying bird. I am the great Leon. That was Leon's. There was too bad Dad's not here to see you fail from Pigma.
I think it
you
was
said let's...
Uncle Andros.
No, that's the new one.
No, that was when he was shot down.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he did. I've shot them down a lot.
All right.
It's still my favorite. I have it on Wii.
Yeah, so do I. I'm gonna play that
But
again.
anyways, so Andrew has decided to take over the solar system. Well, the Sol system.
Whatever.
The Lilac system.
Yeah.
That lasts all of the first level, and then
that was a cool actually thing that suddenly changes.
Then suddenly, a giant giant space flea from nowhere comes down and blows up Andrew.
Yep.
The kill-stealing bastard. This is known as an Aperoid, and they'll be your Borg/Zerg ripoffs for this game.
I think it's more a Zerg. When did they do a technology merge thing? Did they do technology merge?
Yes, they did.
Oh, never mind then.
These are the Aperoids. They're giant bug monsters that are capable of taking over pretty much any weak-willed life form. And, yeah, they're basically made of kaleidoscopes.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Look at their designs and tell me that's not true.
I had not thought of them as kaleidoscopes.
But, yeah. Most of the game is spent running around, blowing up Aperoids. A good portion of it is actually because in the second level, you blow up a big Aperoid and get what's called a core memory. It's a giant chunk of Aperoid something. It's sci-fi MacGuffin technology.
Yep.
And you have to go through the level when it's stolen, and you have to go and recover it from Pigma, who gets taken over by the Aperoids and is murdered.
All right.
By you, because he's turned into a giant space station.
That's cool. He was a dick to begin with.
Yeah. Then basically you go to the Aperoid homeworld and exploit a weakness in their genetic code. That means if you fire this thing into the queen, it causes every Aperoid to self-destruct.
Yeah. It's never like half of them, is it? So it's like, aha, this will kill everybody.
Yeah. So, thoughts on the game?
I mean, basically, so it didn't hit its marks. It was too easy. The running around stuff was kind of annoying. I have heard people tell me that the multiplayer was awesome, but I didn't have a chance to play that.
The multiplayer was okay, but there was just a small problem. No one would play it with me.
Well, then how would you even know if it was okay?
They wouldn't... I'm sorry, let me correct that. Myself and my friend Robert would frequently play the game, and we were the only ones who were good at it. So we would hunt down everyone else before killing each other.
Yeah, not exactly fair.
Yeah. And I've never played Command.
Yeah.
But that is a cluster of migraine. They've openly stated that if they produce another game in the Starfox series, they will ignore Command's endings.
Yeah, because there are multiple endings.
There's like 16 endings.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Many of them mutually contradictory to one another. So it's not like saying, oh, these happened, but just in like a vague sense that they sort of happened. They didn't. Like, for example, in one ending, Crystal leaves Starfox and Starwolf, becomes a bounty hunter named Cursed.
Cursed, wow.
Spelled with a K.
Did she get
Because poor literacy is cool. Yeah, I'm stealing jokes from Linkara. Screw off.
Did she get all dark, I guess, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then there's another ending where Fox and Crystal retire, and they live to be old, and they raise a bunch of kids, including Marcus McCloud.
Huh.
And then there's another one where Falco and Fox become F-Zero racers.
Okay.
No, I'm not even kidding there. They become racers in the game F-Zero.
How does that even make sense? There's no crossover between these universes.
Actually, the creators of Star Fox were also the creators of F-Zero. There's been little hints back and forth between the two. I don't know all the examples off the top of my head.
Alright.
So overall, Star Fox, I think, hit its peak at 64.
So let's hope they bring it back and actually do something better than 64.
The sound was great. The voices were great. The emotions were great. The story was great.
Yeah, all for its time, of course, because nowadays we've upgraded several things.
The graphics were a bit questionable, but still.
Well, even so, like, you know, if you... Well, okay, it depends on what you're aiming for. But most games like today would have a more in-depth story than they had in Star Fox 64.
Which is good. I love stories.
Yeah. So there you go. Upgrade that too already. So what I would do with the Star Fox game, I would put you in the freaking cockpit, and you will just do awesome things that way. What I would have loved is to have a sort of sandbox-ish thing where you control Great Fox and you go to different planets and different systems, even following bounties or whatever. And then you would, launch this area, and then, okay, now you're in the cockpit, and you have to do whatever you have to do. Protect this thing, destroy that thing, whatever.
Protect a convoy, attack this pirate group.
Rescue somebody.
And maybe all the while uncovering, evidence of a massive conspiracy that, Andros has been cloned, and he's back from the dead.
Right,
And he's...
there'd be, a main plot that, you piece together, and you do all these subplots, or all these submissions at least, possibly subplots also. I would love to really get a feeling of owning and upgrading your ship. Because we have the basic video game mechanic of, okay, now we got double, now we have hyper thing. But I would love, you can bring it into the shop, and you're, really weighing the options. Okay, this engine takes up more energy, but it gives me this much more thrust, and this one, okay, it's cheaper, but it's older, it might break down, and doing, all the math of it. Because I don't know of a game that does that that sort of feeling, I'm thinking a little bit. I mean, you couldn't upgrade your ship, but you remember in TIE Fighter PC?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, and it was.
Didn't you blow up the training center?
I did lots of things like that.
Yeah.
It was, I could make a whole thing talking about TIE Fighter.
What not to do?
What's not to do? But yeah, it was like a simulator game. You could play. Okay, now I will charge my shields by uncharging the right side. Lasers, whatever, and I love it, and I think you could blend that by when you're real time controlling the ship. Okay, you only have so many buttons on a controller, or now we have the Wii U, but whatever. Just imagine a controller, and so it would all be very immediate, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of. I won't put menus in the middle of the thing, but when you go back and you refurbish, you see how much damage you took, and you see I want to boost this shield here, there, and I want to install this interesting thing here, there, and freaking I want you to be able to paint it. I want people to do multiplayer with no, this is my ship that I have crafted over however many hours I played.
You realize that if you do that, about 1,000 different people are just going to ride into battle with flaming penises painted to their ships.
Well, I was thinking of local multiplayer.
You realize you're going to go into battle with 1,000 people with flaming penises.
No. And besides, you would totally just do there's 100 paint jobs we invented with 100 varieties. You can choose your armor color in Halo.
Okay, yeah, and you can't make them.
Yeah, you can't just draw anything. Is that what
you draw it? I can still imagine how badly that could go wrong. Little brothers go get a drug.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good idea. I kind of want it to go back to how it was in 64. The control schematics.
You want to on rails?
Sometimes on rails, but when you shot something, it made a kind of a really concussion, a percussion sound. It was like a crack. In Assault, when you shot something, it kind of just fizzled into nothing. I mean, I will grant that's probably what would happen if you shot something with a really powerful laser. Yeah, but I liked the explosion noises. When you shot something, it would go, and you see it tumble out of the sky and hit the ground. And there would be a little crater there.
Yeah.
It would just be like a little black patch on the landscape.
Yeah.
But still, that was something that I liked.
Yeah, the aesthetic of it is... I could definitely see
later games were not accommodating to that. It felt like they were trying to keep the kiddie aspects of it, which, okay, granted, you're animals flying around in spaceships to beat other animals flying around in spaceships. I will freely give you that. But the sound effects were just great.
I remember noticing the alarm sound. In 64, if you ran into things, it'd be blah, 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 and then later blah, 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 blah. Like, seriously. I remember in Assault, whatever this sounded like, it sounded, much weaker and less interesting. And I was like, yeah, pump that up again, guys. That was cool back the way it was.
Yeah,
and
and
even
it was
cooler when you know
alarming
that,
because you were in a spaceship going at like 400 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's the kind of sound it should make when you run into something.
Yeah, well, technically you would make no sound at all because you'd die, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but like it's an alarm. It should be alarming that you're hearing that noise.
Yeah, it was interesting. But what I was thinking also to do on my next Starfox game, or whatever, the next. I've never seen anyone except maybe TIE Fighter, and that was simulation game. I've never seen anyone really crack 3-dimensional combat. We have, in Starfox, for instance, on rails, technically 3 dimensions, but you're on rails. Then we have all range mode, which is really like a very wide cylinder and rather short. You know what I'm saying?
It's like a disc.
Yeah, that's the word for it.
Except it's not on the back of the turtle.
Indeed. So I wouldn't it be cool if it really did work 3D and it actually felt right and things had momentum to it and
Rogue Squadron had stuff.
I was about to bring that up though, because I would play Rogue Squadron and what it always felt like was point your ship in that direction, hold down the brake, and hit the fire button for as long as you can until you get there. Strafe or circle around and do it again. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have a dogfighty the feel.
Rogue Squadron 2 had some of the later Rogue Squadrons actually had very dogfighty elements.
Yeah.
My friend Robert and I used to play the Rogue Squadron games for the GameCube all the time, and they were great dogfighters.
Well, I need to play
they had
that.
Hunt down the bombers, and they're zipping everywhere.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember which one I played then exactly, because I mean there were bombers at some point I had to go shoot, but it was when ships are in when actual airplanes are in atmosphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's all complex things of your lift and drag, and when you flip upside down, what that does to how you move,
Mm-hmm.
And when I feel spaceships, and this may be more realistic, but it's kind of boring. It is more point and go. It is more. There isn't that. Okay, I really have to figure out how this thing flies. There's a feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking if you could, you make up some fake laws of physics and stuff for how these ships would do that. And my basic principles were, okay, you'd have thrust, you'd have roll, and then you'd have lift, but you wouldn't have dive. If you wanted to dive, you had to flip over and lift. We're in 3D space now. Everything is weird that way, And, yeah, somehow sort of vaguely in my head you would get that sense of, I don't know, constantly changing possibilities. You're looking at the way that guy angles himself. You're like, oh wait, now he could move this way a little bit faster or that way, but he could feint the other way, and it was less point and click. There he is, just kind of follow him, shoot. Basically, you need to demonstrate that with prototypes because it's kind of hard to explain what I'm talking about. I would like to play the Rogue Squadrons again and see how dogfighty they were, but
Battlestar Galactica did a lot of dogfighting things right for a space combat thing.
Yeah.
The new one, the old one, where they had like those maneuvering thrusters. I thought that was very clever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because most of the time we're pretty bound to our two-dimensional flight thinking.
Yeah. Space is an ocean is the old trope there.
Yeah, but heck, we even have carriers in space.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that's not how space works.
Yeah. Full 3D idea is really cool. And
they even lampshade this in the Robotech novels. They say, the Veritechs were flying like they were in space. This was massively wasteful of power and utterly ridiculous, but Veritechs had power to spare, and the human mind was the one. Since Veritechs flew partially by using our brainwaves to pilot, they flew how the pilots thought they should go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, imagine, I mean, you have to, I remember in TIE Fighter they had your radar things, there were two of them, for your two hemispheres, and you had to conceptualize how things really were in 3D around you, and how the frick to go places. Yeah. There could be some cool stuff. I haven't heard anything on the Starfox front, though. I don't think Nintendo has any plans right now. They don't even have any plans for Metroid right now. They have, Jack.
Yeah, that actually kind of brings up one thing that bugs me about some Nintendo games. They're written from a Japanese point of view.
Is that
Sometimes.
okay? But
Which
how?
can be kind of confusing at times. Like, Samus is a bounty hunter, supposedly.
It's a translation issue there. Yeah, you could call her an independent warrior, more like it.
So kind of like a Ronin?
Yeah, like I haven't looked up the actual word, but from
Why was it changed to bounty hunter?
well, I mean, so that's how I mean, for people who don't know what Ronin is, as of 1980, whatever, they released Metroid, right? It was just okay. What do you call the guy who's military style power but doesn't work for military?
Mercenary.
Or well, that would be the same problem, wouldn't it? Bounty hunter and mercenary both involve I do this to get paid. And the deal with the Japanese is no, Samus does not do this for the primary purpose of payment. She gets paid maybe, but that's on the side. Her main mission is more idealistic. I'm going to kill the Metroids because frick them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a whole scene about this in the Metroid movie I've got in my head.
But the Starfox team suffered the same problem. They're mercenaries.
They actually do get paid.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, so there you go. Which I had forgotten that for the longest time, and then I played it again, and it's like, oh, this is an expensive bill, and I'm like, wait, are we charging him?
Yeah.
I always considered us almost like a space, special forces team. Like, oh, we're not technically part of the military, but we do what they say all the time.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, Okay,
Yeah.
well, any more thoughts on Starfox?
That's about it.
Okay then. Well, I'm Sith King Zero.
And I'm Sonic Sons. Thanks
These
for
are the
listening.
Rambling Reviewers.
See you next time.
Signing off.